Hello, everyone. My name is Jana Cristo. I'm the publisher of Frenzy.com. Today, I've invited Matt Weidner, a real estate attorney, who is going to explain what the expiration of foreclosure moratorium means and when will the foreclosures resume. So, well, first, thank you for doing this because I know you're busy. I just, because the foreclosure moratorium expired at the end of July. And a lot of people are wondering what happens now. When are the foreclosures going to resume? And I see a lot of headlines that we should expect tsunami, and I quote, of foreclosures. What do you think?
I have been thinking that a tsunami was coming for a year now. It's important to note that I did a blog post May 26, 2020. That's when the Federal Housing Finance Administration released their guidance that said we're giving forbearances to anybody that requests. And it just blew my mind, because if you read that guidance, it's the scope of it was so broad. And I want you to think about where we were in March 2020. The 98% of the people in this country hadn't heard of COVID. Nobody, maybe one paranoid percent, thought that this was something real. And I had just been sensitive to us. We pulled our kids out of school late February, and people thought we were nuts. But I knew people over in China, and I knew people in the military, and I was like, something's going on here. But when I saw that guidance, March 26, 2020, and I went, oh my God, the federal government is telling the servicers in an impact that has tens of millions of people, consumers don't have to pay their mortgage. I went, something's going on here. All right. So then you expect it goes a couple months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever. The idea that we've gone a full 12 months, and now it's going to be another 12 months before we're doing it, it's just mind blowing. And keep in mind that just like the eviction moratorium, right? It expired, but then boom, yesterday, Biden extends it. Looks like it's in October now.
Do we have anything about the foreclosures? Is there any extensions? I know there was a rule coming from the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. Is that in force now?
Yeah. The servicing guidelines is what we look to, and I just wanted to type it in. Mm-hmm. The moratorium ends on July 31, 2021. But the detailed protections in there, I think, still give 120 days after that before we're going to see any meaningful foreclosures. Because what the servicers are required to do under the CARES Act is call, outreach over and over again. I think it says they got to do 90 days worth of extensive outreach before they can even start foreclosure. So as a practical matter, I don't think that you're going to see any wave of foreclosures until 2022.
Yes. I've spoken to a lot of people who try to do forbearance. And what I'm hearing is that they're getting letters, they're responding with applications, some people over 10 applications with no meaningful response. I thought that we are over that.
So one of the requirements of the CARES Act was what they call streamlined forbearance. You are a consumer is supposed to be able to pick up the phone, call their servicer, Bank of America, Wells, whatever, and say, COVID has impacted my income,
right,
and I want a forbearance. And the servicer is supposed to immediately give the forbearance.
Okay.
I think they're complying with that largely. My anecdotal experience is that it's working that way. But one interesting thing is there's such a tiny number that have taken advantage of the forbearance.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm surprised.
only 5% were in forbearance, 2.1 million mortgages. That's a tiny, tiny bit.
I'm really surprised because, you know, so many investors and landlords complaining that they're in trouble, and at the same time they're not taking advantage of this. So I was expecting to, you know, have more investors who were impacted by the eviction. So
Because again, under the CARES Act, it's specifically in the servicing guidelines, they call it streamlined forbearance.
okay.
Citizen picks up the phone, says to their bank, I can't make, our COVID's hurting me. They're supposed to immediately stop requesting payments and then give up to 12 months. So let's say, you know, August 2021 to August 2022, no payments, no more, no taxes, no insurance. And then whatever that accumulated backlog is, put it on the back end.
Okay.
And stretch it out over 40 years. I mean, that's mind-blowing, the implications for individual consumers. If you're experiencing a little bit of financial pain, that's a huge amount of stimulus.
So what happens now as this expires, as the foreclosure? Would the banks start foreclosing?
No, because the servicing guideline, the CARES Act servicing guideline, prohibits them from moving quickly. So even though it may expire July 31, the amount of they call it touches, but the amount that the servicer has to touch the consumer, call them, reach out to them, try and work with them. I want to say it's 120 days. I'm just going to look at it right now, but that's a big amount of time. And I will just also tell you anecdotally, I talked to all of the plaintiff law firms in the state, the big bank law firms. None of them have ramped up for any referrals, which is astonishing. If they were, we kept expecting, there's going to be this wave, there's going to be this wave. But the law firms don't have the lawyers, don't have the computers, don't have the office staff, because they're getting their communications from Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citi, Chase. And those banks are telling them, do not hire people yet. Don't get ready, because we are not going to be sending you waves of foreclosures.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
You know, what I'm reading is that 3 million homeowners are behind on their mortgages. This is just sound like it's not correct to me. I think it's a lot more than that from, you know, people that I know, from what I'm hearing from people. It just doesn't seem correct. And I think we'll be surprised and see more. Then probably you're right that it's not going to be now.
I am honestly flabbergasted at the numbers that I read, where, for instance, I read that there is only 2 million people that are in forbearance when 50 million could take advantage of it. And by simply picking up the phone and calling the bank and saying, I don't want to make a mortgage payment, you could do that.
Do you think they're not reporting it correctly?
I gotta believe they're reporting it correctly. There's probably, and I think they did a pretty good job of making this known. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think it's a thing. And quite frankly, if you as a consumer haven't figured it out, I mean, I do Google it and I can find it instantly. There's another interesting thing though. And so put the mortgage reporting on one side, But also look at the other national reporting and frankly international reporting. Record high savings of consumers, $3 trillion, I think they say, in the United States. So all the stimulus money, all the unemployment, all the PPP, everything has produced a higher savings rate than we've ever seen in this country since World War II. And so I think a lot of people are making their mortgage payments. Again, it boggles my mind, but that's the case.
My next question is if a homeowner gets something from the bank. I mean, you're saying it's not going to be immediately, but what should they do? What would their next step be?
Communicating with the bank, because unlike in prior times where we had a crisis, now there are very specific requirements that the banks engage in communication and document those communications. And the banks are not authorized to file foreclosure until they can document that they've had these communications with the borrowers.
Okay. If that does not work, if nothing comes out of this?
Only then, and as I read the servicing guidelines, only after they have exhausted all these communication efforts is the bank authorized to file foreclosure. But I don't see that happening until 2022 in any large numbers. I mean, there's some here or there, but quite frankly, I look here in the Tampa Bay region and I see almost no foreclosures at all, which is just boggles my mind. I can't wrap my brain around that.
That's interesting because I also look at the numbers since I am in Tampa Bay too. I also look at the numbers and the evictions as well, and I did not see any increase in evictions either. You know, if we don't have this supply of homes on the market, then we should not be. I'm thinking in terms of like the people asking, should I buy an investment property or not? So if there are no foreclosures coming on the market, then I don't see what's going to lower the prices for people.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I just did a search here while we were talking, and just blows my mind to find that there's only like 400 foreclosures in total filed in all of 2021, which is just mind-boggling to me, right? And yet here we are.
What about commercial? Do you see more?
Yeah, this includes commercial.
Wow.
And the thing that just doesn't make any sense is that, you know, I get it if the federal moratorium says don't file on homeowners. There's still a vast number of investment loans out there, trust loans and things like that, that don't have any moratorium, that don't have any restrictions on them, that they could be filing left and right. And as I talk to the plaintiff lawyers, they acknowledge that, yes, our clients could be filing, but they are choosing not to file, which is mind-boggling.
Yeah, because they don't want to collapse the market. That might be one explanation for it.
Or if you were a private investor, then I would advise you as an attorney, file now. If you've got the right to file, you got to file now to get a wave. They're still not doing it. Yeah, but you know, like but there's another example, and it's this you know, the tenant issue. We've read recently that in Florida we've used only 2% of the federal money that's available to keep people in their houses. The tenant rent.
Why?
You can't explain it. I had a reporter on the phone, and I thought, well, this is going to be like the unemployment situation where you can't get somebody on the phone, you can't fill out the forms or whatever. So I called the 800 number, and you know, very quickly, someone answered the phone right there, ready to take my call and ready to get me rental assistance.
I've heard, and this is anecdotal, that some landlords are refusing.
Yep.
I wonder if that's true, because I'm hearing this from tenants. I don't know why exactly, because they can pay you the whole. I mean, I think they can pay you up to 12 months or whatever. So I don't know why would you refuse.
It makes no sense. So you're the landlord, you can get X, you're owed Y. If you don't take X, you're not getting anything.
Anything, yes.
And with these tenants, you know, they will have been in there 2 years now without making rent payments. And they just walk away. So you can live for 2 years for free and not make a single penny. Why wouldn't the landlord cooperate with the tenant to go and get this federal money and put it into the landlord? I just can't wrap my brain around it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's interesting because I follow the evictions. I just look at the numbers, and I've been following the evictions since April last year. And I really don't see any, even when it expired and they had a very short period of time where they could have filed, they didn't. I mean, there was just very small uptick of evictions, and this either is not such a big problem, or because otherwise, why not use the help that's available?
I think I heard, well, I saw that there were only like 34 that were filed in that period after it expired. And
yeah.
And again, I think we have to look back at the stimulus money that's out there. You know, this money that's in people's pockets. Maybe they're paying the rent. I also know other big commercial landlords, residential ones. And, you know, when this started, I thought, oh man, you're in trouble. You know, they're not going to be paying rent. And especially with this eviction moratorium, people know they don't have to pay, and they're certainly not going to pay. And lo and behold, even with an eviction moratorium, their default rates were not much different than what they had been prior to COVID, which just, again, boggles the mind.
I know it's this. I was very surprised because I was expecting a market crash, and completely the opposite happened. And I have a appraiser who's a friend of mine, and he always kind of reminds me, always look at the numbers and don't make you know, personal judgments and opinions before you see any kind of meaningful uptick in some direction. And that's the only thing, because I've been wrong so many times. So, well, those are my questions. And this was very helpful. It's just confirmed what I was reading. And I just wanted to hear it from somebody who works day in and day out and does this for a living. So, Matt, I'm going to include your information in the post. I'm going to transcribe this so everybody can read it if they can watch it, and it's going to be on our YouTube channel. And I will include your information for people to contact you. And I also wanted, before we conclude, I just wanted to ask you, because I was looking at your YouTube channel, and you do a lot of work with code enforcement.
Yeah.
And I'm super interested. I want to do another interview with you about that, because I've had a couple of cases when I was doing rehabs. And so I just wanted to ask a couple of questions, you know, further down the line when you have time.
Let me know. It's a fascinating opportunity nationwide for people to be paying attention to. There's literally billions of dollars that are owed. It's just waiting there to be collected, and then the lots, you know, these lots that are there ready for people to hold on to.
Yeah, very interesting. So if somebody is interested in that, please subscribe to my channel, and we'll do another interview on that. So, Matt, thank you so much for doing this, and I'll talk to you soon, I guess.
Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.